On behalf of everyone at the San Marcos Police Department and the Copeland family, thank you to all of you who are here to pay your respects for a very deserving man. This is a celebration of life, for a life well lived, and for a man who deserves it. When I started to think about what I might say today, I first thought about describing Ken's extensive law enforcement career spanning nearly 30 years, 19 of that with our police department. I'm glad I didn't do that because Joe covered it well. But then I realized that doing that, from my perspective anyway, wouldn't say much of anything about who Ken really was. I really want to spend just a few minutes with you and to try and impart to those of you who didn't know Ken personally a little bit of the man those of us close to him knew, because he truly was one of the special ones. Ken was dedicated both to his home family and to his PD family. You see, we're not different from most police agencies in that we've had staffing shortages of our own to deal with. Ken worked so many overtime shifts, most of us lost track of which patrol shift he was actually assigned to. It became hard for me to remember it myself. He was always there. He was always in the hallways, in his patrol car, and on the streets. When I would tell him, Ken, you need to take some time off, he would just say, Chase, it's got to be covered. We all knew that his work ethic came from his drive to provide for his family and to take care of his team. Ken was kind and caring. Stories about Ken running across a person or a family who was down on their luck abound. He'd always find a $5 bill or two in his wallet, pull it out and buy them a meal or whatever it was that they needed to get them through the day. And I'd be remiss also if I didn't mention the Topo Chico. A while back, Ken developed, for some reason, a love for this stuff that so far I haven't been able to share, but I'm trying every day. Every morning, he'd ice down a case or so of Topo. We'd see him in the break room filling up his ice chest, and he carried it and put it in the back of his police car. And throughout the day, he'd hand it out left and right. It didn't matter if you were a homeless person or the chief of police, you were likely to get a bottle of Topo Chico from Ken. He could just kind of tell when you needed it. Ken was committed to what he believed in. Last year, we were successful in implementing a fitness program for sworn personnel at our department. Ken was always committed to fitness. You've seen that in some of the pictures that we're playing in the slideshow. The guy was fit. That didn't change as he got older. He was the one that many of us younger than him looked up to for motivation most of the time. We had our first rowing test, our first fitness test, just this past November. Ken came in to row right after I finished mine. So I figured I'm going to hang around and wish him luck and watch him, cheer him on. When he was done, he had scored 89, the 89th percentile, 1 percentage point short of being able to earn our Fitness Excellence coin. I looked down and I noticed that he was still wearing his patrol boots, which probably weighed 10 pounds. So I said, Ken, did you think about taking your boots off before you did your weigh-in? His face lit up like it always does, and he said, no, I didn't think about that. Let me try it. So he stepped on the scales again without his boots, and that small difference in body weight adjusted his score to a 90. And I was able to present him with the agency's first ever fitness coin. I had no idea at the time how special that was. Ken was funny, and his big, broad smile was contagious. Even when Ken was having a bad day, he had a way of brightening any room that he stepped into. He'd pop into my office maybe 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes more, right after stopping at Brenda's desk. And he always greeted me the same way. Hey, Chase, what's up? With his Topo Chico, his upbeat personality, and his self-appointed role as an ambassador of goodwill in our community, he became the unofficial figurehead of the San Marcos Police Department Patrol Division. In fact, they had a picture of him hanging in the report writing room, and it's hanging there still today. I suspect it'll be there for a very long time. Ken was focused on his style of public service. He had no interest in promoting to a different rank or transferring to a division outside of patrol. He knew exactly where he belonged and what he was called to do, and he did it well. He remained focused on doing the best he could to serve the people in his district and the city as a whole, and ultimately helped us to build strong and lasting relationships with our community. Throughout last week, many of us found comfort and strength in the stories about Ken that we heard amongst each other and the messages that we received from many of his longtime friends. One that I received was from Grand Prairie Police Chief Steve Dye, fraternity brother and college friend of Ken's. I wanted to share a portion of what Chief Dye said about Ken because I couldn't have said it better myself. Ken exemplified public service, and I can only imagine the privilege it was to serve alongside him as a police officer. Prior to his tragic death, I would often think of Ken and remember the great times we had together. To this day, Ken is one of the best human beings I've ever had the honor to know, and I'm grateful for being able to call him a friend. I hope Ken's senseless death can somehow be the catalyst for our society to realize that we must do more to honor, protect, and respect our police officers. Ken demonstrated what is good and right about our world, and I am hopeful his legacy will inspire others to serve and all to support this noble profession. Thank you, Chief Dye. In closing, I'd like to offer two brief passages of Scripture which have provided me strength and great comfort this week. And whether or not he'd ever read them, Ken understood these Scriptures, and he lived them by his example. From the Apostle Paul's letter to the Romans, "For none of us lives for ourselves alone, and none of us dies for ourselves alone. If we live for the Lord, and if we die for the Lord. So remember, whether we live or die, we belong to the Lord." And from Matthew chapter 5, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God." Rest in peace, Ken. We love you and we miss you. Thank you for your service. We'll take it from here.